Okay, we are starting 3 lines from the bottom of Beis Amud Beis. So far, 2 days, and we've done 2 Amudim. So we're on schedule. So we're doing pretty well. Okay, so the Gemara had just finished a quote from Rav Chia bar Rabba. So now it's just saying another Gemara that's completely off tangent that has nothing to do with what we've been talking about. As you know, the Gemara does that sometimes. So the Gemara says, Rav Yim Rav Yitem Rav Chia bar Rabba. Menatzpach Tzofim Amarim, that the letters Mem Sophis, Nun Sophis, Tzadk Sophis, and Fe Sophis, and Chav Sophis, you have 2 versions of the letter. For example, you have the Mem, and then you have the Mem Sophis, which traditionally now, which tomorrow is going to show us, we now put that's at the end of a letter. If you have a Mem as the last letter of the word, you don't use the traditional Mem, you use the Mem Sophis. So the Gemara says that the Menatzpach, these letters, those 5 letters that have both regular formed letters and ones that you use if it's the last letter in the word. So those were created by the Nevi'im. The Nevi'im came up with them. So Gemara asked, V'tizmar, it asks a question, V'ksiv Elah HaMitzvos, it says in the pasuk that these are the mitzvos, and what does that mean? She'ein Navi Rasha L'chadesh Davar Me'ata, that a Navi is not allowed to come up with a new thing. So, for example, let's say you're saying, there's 613 mitzvos, and you say, oh my gosh, I've got a great 614th mitzvah that I'm going to bring into this world, right? You're not allowed to do that. We can take a mitzvah and they can come up with, like Chazal have come up with ways that they've made enhanced the mitzvah. They may have placed stringencies about something, but they don't come up with a brand new mitzvah. So everything that was done from the beginning. So how could you say that these letters were created by Nevi'im? That's something new, and you're not allowed to do that. So and also, Rav Chizah says, Mem v'samach shebeluchos, turning to Gimel Amud Aleph, that the Mem and the Samach and the Luchos, b'neis ha'yomnim, that they stood through a miracle. What does that mean? That when Hashem gave the Luchos, so the Medrash says that the letters were carved out in the stone, so you were able to see it no matter which side you were looking at it. It wasn't that it was like etched in there; it was carved completely through and through. So if you think about it, the letter Mem, right, which is a Mem Sophis, that it's closed. So if you would carve it out, the middle part, or what I like to refer to as the donut part, because that's a very I'm very good with that. But the stone that was in the middle had to be standing by a miracle, because if you etched around it and you had a clear space, there's nothing holding that stone in place anymore. So it says that the Mem and the Samach and the Luchos, then they stood through a miracle. But you see, so what do you see from there? You see that the Mem Sophis was around already at the time that the Torah was given. Because if not, maybe we're just speaking about an open an open Mem, which would leave a little bit of space in the stone there, so that the stone would have something attached to the rest of the tablet. So Gemara says, you're right. In Miyahavu, those letters were around from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Lo haviyari heba emsa teva v'heba sof teva. But people, we didn't know which words. When would you use a mem that would go in the middle of the word, and when did you use a mem sophis? When did you use a mem or a mem sophis to know when the mem goes? Which letter goes in the middle of the word? Okay, so yamim. Okay, so if you have the word yamim, so you have I'm not turning. I think there's a comedian that said once you turn 50, you never turn around for anything because you've already seen enough. But apparently up there it shows. So if you had the word mem, and we didn't know when you use a regular mem and when you would use this mem sophis or a final mem. We don't know which version to use. So therefore, the Nevi'im came along and they said that if you have a regular mem is going to be used in the middle or in the beginning of the word, and the mem sophis is going to be used only at the end of the word. So Gemara says, sof eila mitzvos, but we still learn from the pasuk, she'ein navi asid l'chadesh davar me'ata, that you're not able to create anything new. So how could you say that they established that the mem sophis would go at the end of the word? That's something new. They're not saying that it's like, they're not establishing rules of grammar. They're saying it's something new, that the mem sophis would only go at the end. So Gemara answers, elashachom v'chazav yisadim. You're right. The Nevi'im there was nothing new that was created. Everyone always knew all along that the Mem Sophis goes at the end of the word. But Klal Yisrael forgot that rule. So therefore, the Nevi'im came along and they reestablished to say that the Mem Sophis goes at the end of the word and not at the beginning of the word. Next Gemara says, also from Rav Chia bar Rabba. Rav Chia bar Rabba. Targum shel Torah uncles hager. This is the great Gemara. It says that the Targum, what we know now, if you open up any Chumash and you look and you see that the Unclus is on the side, Targum Unclus. So Unclus created Targum Unclus. Targum Shal Torah Unclus Hager Amru, that Unclus Hager wrote it, and he got it in Pi Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua. He got it from his Rebbeim, from Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Targum Shal Neviim, the Targum that you find when you open up a Navi. Yonasan ben Uziel Amru Ibnei Chagev Zechariah Malachi. Yonasan ben Uziel got it, and he learned it from Chagev Zechariah Malachi who are Neviim. And when that happened in Zadeya, Eretz Yisrael, Arba Meos Parsa, Arba Meos Parsa. When Yonasan ben Uziel established the Targum for Nevi'im, the whole Eretz Yisrael shook. It says 400 by 400, which was talking about the entire Eretz Yisrael shook when that happened. It was such a tremendous thing that was going on that it was, quote unquote, that Hashem was upset when that happened. And the Gemara is going to explain about that. So Yatsa Baskol, so a Baskol came down, and it said, Miu Zeh Shagilas Isari Livnei Yadam. Who is it that told my secrets over the people? Because remember, in those days they didn't speak Hebrew, and so actually what we have trouble with, sometimes we break our teeth trying to understand what it means. But for them, Targum was really that's what they spoke and they understood. So Hashem said, "Who is it that revealed my secrets to talk about this Targum, this explanation that was going on for Nevi'im?" So Amud Yomi ben Uziel al Raglos Yonasan ben Uziel stood up and he said, I'm the one that revealed your secrets. And you should know. I didn't do it for my own honor. And I didn't do it for my father's honor. I did it for your honor, Hashem. Why? So that there wouldn't be arguments going on in the Jewish people, because if people didn't have Targum, they were going to be fighting with each other what the proper explanation was to understand what it was. So therefore, I gave them the Targum of what it is. V'od bikesh l'galos Targum shel Ksuvim, and Yonasan ben Uziel also wanted to do for Ksuvim. He wanted to give a Targum so people would understand that as well. Yatsa Baskol v'Amrlo. So the Baskol came down from Hashem and said, Dayecha, no, that's enough. Don't do any more. My timing. What's the reason that they didn't want him to give the Targum for Ksuvim also? Mishum the Ispe Kates Mashiach, because it's in Sefer Daniel, it talks about the time that Mashiach was going to be coming, and for various reasons Hashem did not want that should be revealed to the Jewish people. So therefore Hashem said, don't do the Ksuvim anymore. So when I asked on this story that we just said, Targum Shel Torah, Unclus Hager Amar, you're going to say that Unclus Hager was the one that said the Targum, which again I listened to multiple shiurim when I tried to prepare this, and Rabbi Silber was saying that you learned from Unclus that it doesn't matter where you come from, but Unclus was the one that did the Targum for the Torah, which goes to show you that it's not where you come from that really matters. It's what you do, once you're here, and the tremendous things that you can accomplish. So how can you say that Unclus was the one that gave the Targum for the Torah? It says Amrav Ika bar Av and Amrav Shchanan Amarav. Ma'idich Siv. It says in the pasuk Vayikru b'Sefer b'Torah Elokim b'Forash v'Sam Seichel v'Yavinu b'Mikra. So what does that pasuk mean? So Gemara explains now. Vayikru b'Sefer b'Torah Elokim Zamikra. When it says that they read the Torah, that's talking about the actual Torah that we read. B'Forash, when it said in the pasuk B'Forash that Targum, that is the explanation of it, which is Targum, which we were just talking about. So Gemara is going to prove a point from here. V'Sam Seichel Ela Psukim. This is where the Psukim would start and stop, that they didn't know where the Psukim were supposed to stop. So therefore, that's what that part of the pasuk represents. V'Yavinu b'Mikra. What does that part of the pasuk mean? Elu Piskei. Elu Piskei Tamim. That's talking about the trop. When a person's laning, they wouldn't know how they're supposed to be laning, so they would put in what the trop was. And some say that was the Mesores, which is that a lot of times you have in the Torah, there's a word that can be written with extra letters, and you're not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, so they would have this tradition that there's certain words kriv ksiv, that there's certain words that you would read them, even though they were spelled differently. But the bottom line is, we see that from that pasuk, we see that it was not Unclus, but it was actually, this was already given over much earlier, the Targum of how to explain it. So Gemara says for the second time, that you're right, that it was given before the time of Unclus, and then but it was forgotten what the Targum was, and then and then Unclus came along and he brought it back again. So that's why we call it Targum Unclus. So Gemara asks on the story, Ma'ishna de Raisa de Lo is Dazeya. The Gemara said that Unclus translated Torah, and then Yonasan ben Uziel came and he translated Navi. And it says that when Navi was translated, that's when Eretz Yisrael shook. So Gemara asks, why did it only shake when the Nevi'im was translated into Targum and not when the Torah was? So Gemara answers Daraisa Mefarsha Milsa, because the Torah is very clear. So the Targum is there, but there's no there's no uncertainty when you're reading the Psukim. But when it comes to Nevi'im, there are certain things that are just you're able to understand very easily, and there's certain things that it's very difficult to understand what they are. And the Gemara is going to explain now a case where we didn't understand what something was. That the Gemara is talking about, the Pasuk is talking about when the Yetzer Hara was going to be killed, and they're going to have this tremendous hespedim that we're going to be given, and people were going to be eulogizing when the Yetzer Hara is finally killed. And I think it says that tzaddikim are going to be looking at the Yetzer Hara and saying, how is it that it was so difficult for us to overcome the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara was nothing. Like I'm sorry, the other way. How were we able to overcome the Yetzer Hara? Look how great the Yetzer Hara was. So how were we able to overcome it? It's like they're going to be crying from relief that they were able to accomplish something like that. And the Rishonim are going to say, they're going to look at the Yetzer Hara and they're going to see it's nothing. And they're going to say, how can we give into our evil inclinations when we see that the Yetzer Hara was really nothing? So that's the pasuk that's discussing when the Yetzer Hara was going to be killed. So the Gemara says, if we didn't have Targum, we would have no idea what this is talking about. Because B'yomahu Yisagi Mispad of Yerushalayim, Kemisped the Achav Bar Amri, that it was talking about that there was on that day there was a mourning that was going on like the hespedim that they had for Achav. The Katul Yasvei Hadar Dimon Ben Tarvimon B'Ramos Gilad U'B'Misad Yoshia Bar Amon the Katul Yasvei Paro Chagira B'Vikas Megiddo. If you read the first pasuk that we said, it sounds like there was some sort of hesped that was going on for Hadar Dimon in Bikas Megiddo. There's no story like that took place. What happened was that there were two separate incidences that took place, which the Targum then explains that there was one incident that was over here. There was another incident over here where Yoshio was killed, then it combines the two, and it's saying that the hesped that you had when those two separate events were taking place combined, that's what the hesped is going to be like when the Yetzer Hara was going to be killed. So without Targum, we don't know what it was talking about. So that's just an example of what it is. So now the Gemara says another teaching of Rabbi Chia bar Abba, which has nothing to do with what we've been doing in Megillah so far. It says in the pasuk, "For isi ani Daniel levadi es hamara v'hanashim asher hayumi laro es hamara avacharada gedola nafla le'am v'yivruchu b'chave." That Daniel says that I was the only one that saw this vision. And there were other people that were with me, the Gemara is going to explain, and they got very scared and they ran away and they went into hiding. So Gemara says, "My ninhu anashim," who are the people that this is referring to in the pasuk? Rav Yira, Vitemer, Rav Chia bar Abba, Zeh Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi. These were the three Nevi'im, Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi. Inu adif minei, and in one way, the Nevi'im were greater than Daniel. V'ihu adif minei, in one way, Daniel was greater than they were. How? Inu adif minei, they were greater than him. The Inhu Naviya, v'ihu lo Navi, because they were Nevi'im, and he was not a Navi. And Rashi explains, meaning they were a Navi, that Daniel was also a Navi. He also received prophecy. But there's a prophet that receives a prophecy, and there's a prophecy, then there's a prophet who gives over that prophecy to the Bnei Yisrael. So, Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi received a prophecy. They gave it over to the Bnei Yisrael. They're considered to be Nevi'im. Daniel received prophecies. He saw visions, but he did not give it over, so he's not quote unquote considered a Navi. So the Gemara says, and how was he greater than them? Because he saw this vision and they didn't see the vision. So Gemara asks, so if Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi didn't see this vision, so why were they scared? It says that they were scared and they went into hiding. But it says that they didn't see the vision, so what were they worried about? Gemara says, even though they didn't see it, mazlaihu chazu, their mazel, as much as we can understand that they did see it. And it's true, like a lot of times you'll find that for no reason at all, you'll get anxious, you'll get scared about something, even though like it doesn't make sense you should be feeling anything at that time. And that's because you have this mazel, your mazel is affected in ways that maybe even physically you don't understand it, but spiritually your mazel is affected. So, Amravina, Shvamina, Hai, Man, Demivis. So you see from here that if someone comes frightened for no reason, Avagav, Diulo, Chazi, Mazli, Chazi. That again, like we just said, that even though he doesn't see it, but his mazel does see it. So what is the remedy that a person should do if he's feeling these feelings of angst or unease that he has going on? Where it says, "Likra Kriya Shema," I should say Kriya Shema. And if a person is staying in a place where it's dirty, should not able to say Kriya Shema. Linchof miduchte arba garmide. So the person then should jump 4 jumps from wherever he's standing. V'lo leimahachin. If you're not able to escape that way, then what you should do is you should say Iza de beitabcha shmeina minoi, that the goat at the slaughterhouse is fatter than I am. Which it reminds me, there's I think a Far Side cartoon where there was 2 bears that are in the scope of a rifle, and it shows one of the bears smiling and pointing to his friend. So again, it's the same thing. Like you're kind of saying to this spirit that's hovering over you, that's causing you to be uneasy, saying, hey, there's much better people that you can get instead of me. Don't pick on me, pick on someone else. Okay, so the Gemara returns now to Megillah. So Gemara says, so if you remember, last week we learned out from the pasuk Medina v'ir v'ir. So the Gemara says now v'hashadamar Medina v'ir v'ir, that we learned out l'drasha, explaining whether you would read the Megillah on the 14th or the 15th, if you're a walled city or not a walled city. Gemara says mishpacha. So in the pasuk it also says the words mishpacha. So what is that? So what is that coming to tell you? Gemara answers, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, lahavi mishpachos kahuna uleviya shemevatelan avodas, and it's coming to tell you that if the Kohanim, the Leviim, were doing the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, and it was time to read the Megillah, because remember the story of Purim took place between the first and second Beis Hamikdash. So when it was possible that in the second Beis Hamikdash they could have been reading the Megillah. So if you had the Kohanim Levim were doing the avodah, ubayin lishma and mikra Megillah, and now it's time to read the Megillah, then they're supposed to stop doing their work. The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Kohanim b'avodasan, Levim b'duchanan, Yisrael b'ma'amadan, that you would have all 3 families from the Bnei Yisrael, the Kohanim who were doing the avodah, the Levim that were doing the singing, and you would have the Yisrael that were b'ma'amadan. Their job was to stand by the karbanos. The karbanos were not supposed to be abandoned. So just like you had mishmaros that you would have that would be representative of the Kohanim, you would also have mishmaros for the Yisraelim that would stand by the karbanos while the avodah was going on. So all 3 of them, kul mevatel and avodasim, they all mevatel the work that they're doing. Uvayin l'shma mikra Megillah, and they're supposed to go ahead and read the Megillah. Kohanim b'avodasim, the Kohanim when they're doing the work, levim b'duchanan v'yisrael b'mamaran, kul mevatel and avodasim, uvayin l'shma mikra Megillah. I'm sorry, Tani Nami Hachi. Kohanim b'avodasan, Ulevim b'duchunam v'Yisrael b'amamadan, Kol mevatan avodasan v'al nishmam v'kol you're supposed to be doing it. Gemara says, Mikan tzamchu shel beis Rebbe. So therefore, in the house of Rebbe, they because of what they learned here, they learned shemavatal Talmud Torah u'bayin l'shma mikra Megillah. That if you have your middle of Seder, the middle of the Beis Medrash, and the learning Torah, and now it's time to go ahead and read the Megillah, so they learned from the fact that the Kohanim, Levinim, and the Yisraelim were supposed to stop their avodah, so they learned also now that you're supposed to stop your learning, and you're supposed to go ahead and read the Megillah. Kal v'chomer me'avodah, and they will make a kal v'chomer from the avodah. Uma avodah shehi chamura b'mevatlina, and if you have the avodah, which is the strictest of all the avodas you could have, according to what the Gemara is saying now, and it's going to change that. But according to what the Gemara is saying now, it's saying that the avodah, which is the strictest thing, we see that the Kohanim are supposed to stop doing what they're doing in order to go ahead and to listen to Megillah. Talmud Torah lo kol shekain. So Talmud Torah, for sure, you should be stopping in order to go ahead and listen to the Megillah. So Gemara asks, avodah chamura mitalmud Torah. You're going to say that the avodah they did in the Beis Hamikdash was stricter than learning? So now an incredible story. Now this is going on to the time when Yoshua was surrounding Yericho and he was laying siege to Yericho. So it says in the pasuk Vaksiv, it says Vahibi Yos Yeshua Yericho. It was when Yoshua was in Yericho. Vayisa Einav Vayarav Inei Ish Omed Lenegdo, and he saw that there was a person that was standing by him. Vayishtachu, and he bowed down in front of him. So the Gemara asks, so Yoshua is at night. Okay, he's by himself and he sees a man there. And he bows down in front of him. So Gemara asks, how could Yeshua go down and bow down in front of this man? You're not allowed to say hello to someone that you see at night, because we're afraid that it's a shade. Now, first of all, this is not referring to, if someone that you recognize and someone that you know. It's talking about, I don't even know what it's talking about, but it's talking about a situation where you're kind of like in a bad place and you see this figure there, so you should be worried that maybe this is not just a person, but really it's a shade. So how could Yeshua go ahead and say hello to this person, then bow down in front of him? It's possible that this person was maybe a shade. So when I said Shani Hassam, the Amarle, because the stranger had already told Yeshua, Ki ani sar tzva Hashem, because I am an officer in the army of Hashem. So Gemara says, "V'dilma Meshakri." Maybe he was just lying to him. How does he know that it was really a malach? Gemara says, "Gmiri dilom mefaski shem shemayim levatala," because we know that shadim don't say the Shem Hashem levatala. So therefore, if he said that he's a Sar Tzva Hashem, then Yoshua could rely on that and know that this is really talking about a person and not a shade. So Gemara said, we'll just. Let's just finish up a few more lines. So Gemara says, Amar Lo. So the Malach says to Yoshua, Emesh bitaltim tamid shel bein harbayim. Yesterday you didn't bring the tamid shel barna. You didn't bring you're supposed to bring a carbon in the morning and the evening, the tamid of the morning and the tamid of the evening. So he says, yesterday you didn't bring the tamid in the afternoon. So Gemara said, and he said, V'achshav bitaltim tamid Torah, and now you haven't been learning either. So Amar Lo, Alez van Basos, Yeshua asked the Malach, he says, which thing are you coming now to take me to task for? What are you calling me out for? So Amar Lo, he said, Atavasi, I'm coming now, meaning right now you're not learning. That's the time that I'm coming for, that I want to that I'm coming to reprimand you, not for not bringing the carbon tamid. So Gemara says, so the pasuk says, Miyad, right away, Vayelin Yoshua b'laylahu b'socha emek. That right away Yoshua went and he started learning, even though he's going to battle the next day with Yericho. He stayed up all night and he was learning. Amar Rav Yochanan, what does that mean? Milamid shalom be'omka shel halacha, that Yoshua spent the whole night and he was learning in the depths of Torah. You know what? We'll end on a cliffhanger. We'll stop here, and we will continue tomorrow in Meretz Hashem at 9:10.